Okay. All right. If you can see me already, I'll just check in to see if just checking to make sure the stream's going. Forgot to pull it up on my phone real quick. Let's see what we got. Okay. Yeah, stupid ads. Okay. All right. So it looks like video's live. That's good. That's good. All right. So, welcome to the shop. Let me see. Get myself situated here. So, I just got back from Tennessee, and if you had a look at my Instagram page, you would have saw that I made a little uh, holoform while I was at the show, and I made it with the help of the Robert Sorby Steady Pro, and I had a viewer request that I do a video covering that. So let's see. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. So I'm going to be talking about this tool. And this is it right here in case you haven't seen it before. This is the Robert Sorby Steady Pro. Okay? And what this does is it helps to basically steady your tools. So if you've ever done a piece that was, deeper, like a pencil cup. Let's see if I can find something to use as an example. This isn't a great example, but it'll work. Something like this, then you know that once you get out pretty far over the rest, as you're trying to hollow this material out, the tool wants to kind of take a dive, right? And then as it's going around in here, once it takes that dive, it could catch on the bottom of the curve, and it could cause a lot of problems. And it's really hard sometimes it could be difficult to resist that action, right? So this tool is going to help with that. Another thing that it's going to help with is a lot of the hollowing type tools that you find on the market are made up like this, where it has a hang on. Always have trouble figuring out which way to move my hand. All right, so they have tips on them like this. Okay, and the thing about that, these are really efficient at removing material, right, for hollowing. But the problem is, it's kind of the benefit and the problem at the same time, because this cutter can be rotated around the head to allow you to do things like undercuts, like cutting underneath the shoulder of a hollow form. But the problem is, the further you turn it out this way, right, the more likely it is to want to roll over on you. Okay, and so you're fighting several things when you're out over the rest of ways. You're fighting this action here, all right, and you're fighting the tendency of the tool to want to roll like this, all right. And the steady rest is really good at arresting those two situations. So I don't know how long this is going to take, which is kind of why I didn't do a whole lot of talking in the beginning. Um, as far as an intro, I guess. I don't know how long this is going to take, so I'm going to try to keep the pace going just in case. It might actually be really fairly short, but we'll see. I'm watching I figured out a way to hook this thing up so I can see the live comments. So if you guys have questions, by all means, pop in and ask them. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over. Let's see. I guess I'll just go to overhead view. All right. So what I got for you today is this piece of cherry, right? And I think it's about it's probably about 3 inches in diameter, about the right size for a pencil cup or something like that. Yeah, it's just a little over 3 inches. So this is going to be great. It's going to be a really good example of where this tool really shines. All right. But first, I'm going to put a little shape on it because I don't want it to be a tube. So let me get this live center out of here. I had intended to do that ahead of time, but, well, it just didn't work out. So let's get some of this stuff off the bedways here. Okay. All right. So we're going to use our bowl gouge to kind of give this thing a little bit of shape. And I'm kind of leaning towards a shape like this, maybe, where it tapers at the top a bit. And I think on this, I might give it a lid. So before I turn the cameras on, I parted this piece off. I don't intend for it to be a fitted lid like a lidded box, but I cut this material off so that I'd have some material to work with in the case that I decided I wanted to do a lid. So I do like this shape. Unfortunately, this one, I was very upset with myself because I found the outside from the inside or the inside from the outside, whatever. But as you can see, there's a little hole right there. So, and this was I turned this a while ago and I really like it, and I haven't gotten rid of it because the spalting on it's really nice, right? And maybe one day I'll attempt to fix it, who knows. But either way, that's the shape we're going to go for. I don't know if it'll hold a 1-inch diameter tool because I don't have one. I think the biggest tool I have is about 5/8. And also, does that 1-inch tool have a flat on the bottom, or is it a rectangular bar? Let's see. Aussie man. Just curious. Anyway, this is the biggest bar that I have, and I think this is I want to say it's 3/4 of an inch, but I'm not 100% on that. All right. Okay. So let's put some shape to this a little bit, and then we can start working on. Then we can start working on getting to showing you guys how this tool works. Okay. A bit lower. All right. So I want to round this top part over. I find it's easiest to start right at the edge and kind of take off a bit and then work your way back up to it. Get a little bit of a smoother profile that way. It's a little bit easier to judge it versus trying to cut the thing all in one shot. Right now, kind of feeling like it's more of a taper than a curve like I would like it. So let's go back, take a few lighter passes. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this part before doing the video is because I can tend to get carried away with these little details. So I'm going to try to spare you from having to deal with me and my perfectionism. Yeah. So I'm just going to put some basic shape on this. I would like to turn it into something versus just cutting on a piece of wood. So, you know, I want to put just a little bit of time into it and try to make it into a nice piece. But I also want to respect your time and not hold you hostage here waiting on me to fiddle with this thing. So that shape's feeling okay. So I'm just go back and do a little bit of scraping, a little bit of shear scraping on the outside to clean up some of these curves, and then we'll start looking at hollowing this thing out. Okay. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right. Okay. Now, you could... I'm going to let that go for now. All right. So you could go ahead and drill this material out. If you wanted to, you could definitely use a Jacob's chuck, and you could definitely use a Jacob's chuck and start and drill out the vast majority of this. That's definitely one way to do it. But we're going to do it with the tools. We're going to do it with chisels for the sake of this demo right here. So the first thing I want to do, if you've seen me do bowls or anything with a lid, you may have noticed that I like to put a little bit of a taper on the rim, and this piece is going to be no exception to that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll get right to it. So we got a few things to discuss before we get going. Okay. All right. So that gave me the little taper that I like to see. So I'm also going to go ahead and cut a little bit of this waste material out real quick. I'm going to use the Robert Sorby multi-tip tool. This thing is excellent for hollowing. Go back to the top. Yeah, this tool is excellent for hollowing, and it's basically a scraper. So you want to set your tool height just above center and kind of trail it down towards center. Let me make a little adjustment here. So I need to go maybe this way. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So let's take out a little bit of this material here, and then we'll get started. Now, I chose not to do a hollow form because you wouldn't really be able to see the cutting action, because if you've tried a hollow form before, you know that most of those cuts are made blind, really. Because they're inside of a form and you really can't see what it's doing. So I chose to use something that has more of an open form, but also a closed form, so that the top piece, the top diameter is not the biggest, not the largest diameter. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of why these cutting techniques are important, because these different types of cutters like this really excel at undercutting. So as you go, because I want the walls on this to be fairly consistent. So that means that I'm going to have to open it up from the center, and I'm going to have to open it up as I go down. Okay. So now let's talk about the Steady Pro. So here's one of the real strengths in my opinion, about this tool. All right. So this tool doesn't require a whole lot of setup. Okay. You're just going to drop it in your tool. You're going to drop it in your banjo in the place of your tool rest. All right. And we'll get to the rest of the settings in just a minute. But first, I want to talk about the post. So the post is actually a modular item. So you can, it's made to fit pretty much any, lathe by adding, the appropriate sized. Hard to keep this in focus here. Let's see which way. Up. Yeah, there we go. So these posts are modular, and you just order the one that fits your lathe, and it screws into the bottom just like so. Okay. What I like to do to tighten it up is I put it in the banjo and tighten the banjo up and just give it a little twist, and that locks it in there real nice. All right. So now what I'm going to do, what you have to do, all right, this tool is made to use whatever you have, whatever tools you have. You don't necessarily have to use it with Robert Sorby tools. See if I can widen that view out a bit. Okay. All right. Okay. You don't have to use this with Robert Sorby tools. Okay. You can use it with what you got. On this side over here, you can see these two bolts, two screws right here. And these two screws, there's a matching set on this side, and that's what allows you to adjust this top post. Let me see and grab a wrench so I can adjust that. Nope, not that one. Okay. What I recommend is this one right here in the front has a nylon washer on it. So I loosen that one up, not as much, and then loosen this one in the back up pretty good, right? And that allows us to adjust this top piece. So when you put your tool in, since you really only want to use this with scraper type tools, be it carbide, an insert tool, one of these hollowing type tools, or an actual scraper, okay? You don't want to use it with a gouge or anything with a flute, because what'll happen is as you're using it, it's gonna want to register off across the top of these flutes, which would have you cutting. Let's see. Go there. Boom. Boom. Okay. If you use it with a gouge, it's going to have these register off these flutes, and that's going to put the flute straight up. And we know that we never do that. We never cut with the flutes like that. So we won't be using it with gouges at all. It's only going to be scraper type tools, and the vast majority of your hollowing tools are going to be, based on some kind of scraper. So anyway, to set this up, what you do is you put your tool through the holder. See, I need to fix one more thing. All right. Let me zoom out a bit here too. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. This is a new kind of thing I'm doing today, I guess. But anyway, you want to set this up so that it's cutting. Now, if you want it to cut parallel to the floor, like most of the carbide tools recommend, you could set it that way. In this case, this is a scraper, and I'd like to have it trailing just a little bit, which means instead of it going parallel to the floor, I set the cutter so that the cutting height is just above center, and trail it down just a little bit to cut. And I find that works really well with scrapers, okay? Scraper type tools. So once I have my setting, right, it should hold it because I left tension on the screw with the nylon washer. So the first thing I'm going to do is tighten up these two screws back here, okay, so that it doesn't move from the position I want it in. Okay, once I have that, then I'm going to tighten up this other one. All right, and then once I have that set up, then I can go ahead and set up the cutting height. All right, and to do that, I do it just like any other tool rest. So I check and see it's a little high right now. So you can come down here and lower it, loosen the nut on the banjo, lower it down, see where we're at. That right there is just about right. And if it's not, I can always go back and adjust. So it's not going to show right away the stability part unless I move this back. So see, I keep making all these changes here. Okay, so I have this set pretty far back so that you can kind of get an idea of how it's going to work when we get down to the bottom of this form. All right, so just imagine right now we're just cutting right here at the top, but if I was down into the bottom, it would be the same situation. I'd have all this I'd have all of this bar from the tool hanging out over the rest. So this is going to simulate it and allow you to see the cut at the same time. So I'm going to put this just a little bit closer. All right, so now we're ready to go. Okay, so here's something that's important about this tool. Let's see, might show better from this side. All right, so typically what you want to do is you want to have one hand with an over grip. All right, because you want to keep pressure on the front of the tool to keep it anchored to the tool rest. Well, the Steady Pro is doing that for you. Okay, so I find that doing an overhand hold with your front hand tends to encourage space right here between the bar and this roller. And all you really need to do is keep the bar of your tool engaged with this roller. Okay. And so really all you have to do is work it side to side because it's going to do the work for you. It's going to arrest this rotation and it's going to arrest the bouncing at the back of the tool. So because I need a wide view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this, cut a little bit at this view, and then I'll cut a little bit at the other view because doing side by side isn't going to show. I don't think it's going to show enough. So we're going to go ahead and set this up, okay? And like I said, I'm going to choke up on the handle because that's what I always do, okay? Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit more so you can kind of see that. I guess that's as far as I can go. So I'm going to choke up on the handle, and what I mean by that is I have my hand wrapped around the shaft of the handle, and I have it running down the length of my arm, and I have it kind of tucked into my body, which is always a good way to do it because you can use the mass of your body to anchor the tool. Okay, so now that I got this doing all the work for me, all I have to do is come in and you can see, if you can hear me, that it's not bouncing. And you can see right now that I'm pretty much almost as far out over the rest as I can go. Now, you might be looking at that and going, well, that's not going to let me hollow very deeply. But the fact is that I have this set so far back. We're going to switch to the top view. I have the Steady Pro set so far back, but I could actually put this right up against the front of my form as long as it doesn't touch, and I can get this much of an overhang with this particular tool. But with longer tools, of course, you can get a longer reach. All right. So while I have it in the overhead view, I'll go ahead and do it again so you can see what that looks like. So I got it tucked into myself, and this is doing the heavy lifting for me. I'm not struggling with this at all. Okay, it's not bouncing, none of that. Okay, the main thing is you got to make sure that you keep lined up with center. All right, so I like to cut, like I said, with my scrapers. I like to cut at a trailing presentation where the cutter kind of angles down a bit. But the problem with that is the further out I go over the rest, the further down the cutter is going to go. All right. So all that means is if I want to cut deeper, because right now, see, I don't know that I'm going to be able to show this either, but we're going to try. All right, oops. No, that's too far. Okay. And then it want to be finicky. Okay. I don't think you're going to be able to see it because the tool's in the way. But anyway, the cutter right now is just a little bit under center. So the easy fix for that versus changing the settings on the tool would be to move the tool closer, right? So if I move the Steady Pro closer to the piece, then that would reset my height, and I'd be cutting at the same height again. And eventually you may have to adjust this if you're using a trailing presentation. But most insert tools, like your carbide tools and things, you're going to do it you're going to cut with this horizontal to the floor, so you won't have to even make those extra adjustments, okay? Are the rollers on bearings? Yes. I'm not sure what kind of bearings they are. I don't think they're like your traditional I don't think they're your traditional bearings, but it's a very smooth action. They roll very smoothly. And I actually wax these bars just so that, you know, it moves a little easier, okay? So I showed you that one. I showed you that tool, all right? So let's do let's simulate a carbide tool. All right, let's see. Just got to do a little switcheroo here with my interchangeable handles. Oops. All right, so this is our Turnmaster tool, which is our insert tool. Okay, and I'll show you just how quick it is and easy it is to switch from one tool to the other, because this bar is thicker than the bar on the previous one. So obviously I'm going to have to change the settings, because this is actually presenting at an upward angle, and we don't want that. We want it to be horizontal. So let me grab my other tool, my other wrench here, and we'll go ahead and make that adjustment. I'm even going to show you how to. I'm going to pull out a tool that's not made by Robert Sorby, so that you can see the versatility of this tool. Because, like I said, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be our tool. I mean, we would love for you to use Robert Sorby tools with it, but you know, this is designed so you can use the tools that you already have. Okay, so we got a little bit of motion right there. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to set this up so that it's pretty much parallel to the floor. Okay? That easy. Go ahead and tighten this back up. And then we'll do a little bit of cutting with this one. Okay. So now I did that. So now we need to go in and change. We need to go back and set our cutting height to be cutting on center, which is really high right now. Let's see. Think about. I just loosened the set screw in the banjo, and use my hands underneath to kind of gauge where I want it to go. Pull the tool out, tighten it up. Good to go. All right, so let's check it and see where we're at. All right. So this would be just like any other carbide tool, okay? Could be an Easy Wood, a Rikon, a Rockler tool, anything, okay? And like I said, you want to choke up on it. You want to keep your hands behind the bars. I have a terrible habit of putting mine up here, but you really want to keep them back here behind the bar. And like I said, turn that overhand hold into an underhand. All right. Now for this, I'm starting to cut outwards, right? Because I want to match the contour on this piece. So I'm going to need to move the Steady Pro more to the back. And I also find that you can, if you angle it, see here, if you angle it like so, I think I might have moved it just a little bit, just a little too high. Okay. If you angle it just so, then it really helps with getting the tool out to the side so that you can follow that profile. And that's a little low too. If you've done any turning before, you know how finicky getting your tool rest height just right can be. So now I'm going to come out here so I can have a little bit of, bracing with the mass of my body here. Underhanded hold. Same deal. So I can cut down in there. Okay. And it's going to arrest all that extra movement. I don't have this set quite right because it's not cutting the center for me, which is an easy fix. Let's go ahead and lower this just a little bit, see if we can't catch that little cone in the middle there. Okay. Nope, too low. Okay. Pretty simple. Yeah, that Trey asked if that's a Harbor Freight wrench. Yes, it is. I have a little one of the little 90-degree ones that came with the Steady Pro. I just don't know exactly where it is at the moment. So I'm using what I got. Here's another way that we can use this. I don't have a really great way to show it because I don't have a bowl. But you can use this also with your scrapers. All right. One of the problems that I found when using these heavy-duty scrapers, these things are really. Some of them are wider, some of them are thicker, but these heavy-duty ones do a really good job of smoothing out ridges on the inside of your bowls, right? But the problem again is, a lot of times you end up out over the rest a bit, and if you don't hold it steady as you traverse through, and it has a tendency to take a dive, the nose of the tool has a tendency to take a dive, and you're not braced against that, you can get tear out, and do more damage than you did good, because this is supposed to be like the final cut. It's supposed to go through, take out the ridges and things. So you can also use this. You can use the Steady Pro with your scrapers. Same way, just loosen up the knobs here, or you loosen up the nuts here, and you can adjust it. See. And then you can adjust it the same way. Just adjust it to wherever you want it. If you want it horizontal, you can do it horizontal. If you want it trailing, you just lift up on the handle a little bit, and you can have a trailing cut. Trailing presentation, I guess, would be the right way to say that. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. I have this. So I have this. This is my Robert Sorby Ultima. I don't know how to get it in here so you can really see it. It's a really big tool, and even this works very well with this system. See if I can get my tool rest back far enough to show you. Let's see, I think this is still loose. I hope that I'm doing a good enough job explaining how you use this thing and why it would be useful, because it's a new product and I haven't really had as much experience with using it to date as I would like to. But I have seen where it can be very, very handy. Okay, tighten that up. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking, man, you know, I don't know if I'm down for all these adjustments. The thing is, most people are going to use it for a thing. You know, maybe you'll have, maybe, you know, this is the tool you like to hollow with. All right. Maybe an insert tool is a tool you like to hollow with. You know, it doesn't really matter which tool. If you have a tool that you like to use, then you set it up for that. You could even get a little stop collar that goes around the tool post that will preserve the height so that you don't have to go through the trouble of setting the height of the tool rest every time you want to use it. All right. So this one is much, much longer. I don't really have a way to give you guys a sense of scale on this thing, but it is super long. The handle on it's 22 inches. This is adjustable. I can loosen these two set screws right here, and it extends. I can extend it or retract it into the handle. All right. So, and then this is going to cut exactly the same way. So you're going to be able to you're going to be able to stabilize this thing and make your cuts with this too. Okay. And like I said, I'm going to do it with almost set up for somebody else's tool. You can see this is an Easy Wood tool right here. This is the #1 hollower. Let's see, put this away. This is the #1 hollower, and I'm going to show you that you can even use other manufacturers' tools. So basically, we're going to put this in here, and that is almost right. It's just a little bit. This bar is just a little high, so we're going to make that adjustment, and then we're going to make a couple of cuts with it to show you that you can use your own tools. I mean, you could even use your own homemade tools. So many people make their own hollowing tools in their shops, and you know, the thing is making a steady for it to hold it still, you know, or to keep it from bucking and carrying on all over the place can be far more challenging than making the tool itself. So you could make your own tools, and you could add this accessory to your lineup, and you could be well on your way to hollowing. All right. So there's that. Let's get our height set correctly. Okay. All right. Let's move to the, we're on the end camera. Let's see if I can make this a little higher. See if I can squeeze a better view out of this thing. Let's see. That might work right there. Okay. That's a better view. All right. So we can go ahead and put that under there, and in we go. See. I don't know if you can see how far out over the rest I am, but I'm actually pretty far out over the rest. Now, something about these guys' tools, right, is they have this little mark right here for the maximum overhang, all right? With the support that you got, you can, so if you were cutting with this and you didn't have, and you had your regular rest, you know, you'd have all this steel hanging out over the rest and all these forces on the outside pushing down on the tool. But right now this is very sturdy. It's not going anywhere, so I'm not going to have any problems with the handle jumping around on me as I'm trying to hollow this thing out. Okay. All right. So let's talk about a couple other things real quick, because I think I'm doing pretty good on time. Yeah, pretty good. So I'm gonna see if I can grab some of my other hollowing rigs, because I want to show you something that I think is really beneficial to this tool. All right. So I have 2 or 3 other hollowing rigs, and this is by no means intended to be a dig on those other systems, but this is just me pointing out how how much easier this is, how much quicker this is to set up. So this is one part of my switch this one. This is one part of my Carter system. For some reason I can't find the head piece of it, which is massive. You'd think I'd be able to put my hand on it, but I've been moving stuff around in here. Oh, there it is. All right. Okay. So here's the 2 parts. Okay. So this goes in the tool rest, or the banjo. Okay. And then this part gets mounted on the bedways in front of this piece, right? So you got to set up all this extra stuff, and all that takes time. Okay. And then this is the other one. If I can get it down off the wall here. This is the other one. Okay, so I got this. This is my simple hollowing systems. It's an articulating arm kind of situation. And you can see how much more complicated these things are than the Steady Pro. All right. Not to mention the fact that both of these things cost a minimum of twice as much as the Steady Pro, and they basically do the same thing. So what all these tools do is arrest vibration and twist when you're hollowing deep down into a form, right? And they basically steady the tools. So I think this is going for about I'm going to say like $150. Don't quote me, because the cost of tools is fluctuating all the time right now. So, and it depends on where you buy it from also. But at the Tennessee show, I think they had it $25 off, and it was like $140. So maybe it's like $165 at Woodcraft. Okay. But anyway, that's the deal with the Steady Pro. And if you think that it would be useful to you in your shop, I hope that you find the video helpful. And I'll go ahead and put in the description box, once I get all this wrapped up, the video that I did for Robert Sorby talking about this. It's kind of an unboxing intro kind of video, and I go through a number of different tools and setups that you can use the Steady Pro for. And like I said, I'll put a link to that in the comment section. I forgot to do it when I set up the thumbnail. So, but anyway, I hope that was helpful for some of you. So there you go. That's the Robert Sorby Hollow Pro. So, and I think the last time I did a video was a couple weeks ago, and I kind of alluded to some big changes in Dreadnought Woodshop. I'm going to do the best I can to get to make some of these changes over time. One of the things, the biggest one, is we're actually moving, right? We're going to move up to South Carolina, and that's a big move for us. Yeah. Brian, that's exactly where the Steady Pro sits in my in my workflow. Brian commented that he has the Carter system also, but you can see where the Sorby would be good for medium depth hollowing. Yeah, because you can just pull it out, pop it in your banjo, and have at it. So, but like I was saying, the biggest change for us is that we're going to be moving to South Carolina. And at that time, I'll be going full time with the wood turning and the content creation and demonstrating and all that kind of stuff. So that's really, really exciting for us. So if you want to help me with that. Go ahead, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, and tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about me so that they can subscribe as well, and watch the videos. You know, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You guys know the drill. And that would help me out tremendously. So, but I'm hoping to be more regular with the content, more regular and more varied. I have some other things going on, like I'm going to be doing some other types of videos with lasers, and I have a laser engraver that I've picked up, and CNC and those kinds of things as well. But I'll do the best I can to kind of like separate the two in the thumbnails so that it's easier for folks that don't want to see that kind of stuff to identify which type of video it is.